Media Melanie Talks TV. I'm Melanie, and today I'm back to preview Season 2, Episode 5 of School Spirits on Paramount+. What a wild season this has been so far, and I'm really excited to dive in and try to kind of figure out what we can expect for the rest of the season. In this video, I'll take a look at some of the promo pictures from Episode 5, see if we can surmise any potential details, along with going over some of the images that we've seen in trailers and teasers that we have not seen yet in this season. I'll also go over some quotes the cast have given in interviews about what we can expect with the season in general. And if you've already watched Season 1, which I'm assuming you have, otherwise why would you be here, you probably know it ended with a pretty wild double reveal twist cliffhanger of an ending. And it does seem like we might get something very similar here for Season 2. And might I add, we don't have Season 3 renewal news yet, but I am really hoping we get that soon. I'm not sure how they will continue the story. Obviously, we need to see how it ends first and the opportunities for telling more of this afterlife ghost story. Before we fully dive in, please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate all of the School Spirits fans who've been here on the channel, so thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to stick with me for the rest of the season. All right, so Episode 5, Ghost Who's Coming to Dinner. When Janet invites Maddie's friends over for dinner, the ghosts and the living must work together to find out her intentions. Later, Maddie uncovers intel about Janet that shakes her resolve. Whew. This whole Maddie and Janet situation is getting pretty intense. And now that we're going to have the friends over to Maddie/Janet's house, what sort of chaos is going to ensue? Let's talk about some of the quotes the cast have given in interviews. In a Screen Rant interview, we have Christian Ventura, who plays Simon, saying, "To guess the ending, it's a lottery ticket. I mean, if you actually get it." And then he also says, "Think about the worst thing that could happen, and then worse than that." What do you guys think is actually the worst possible thing that could happen? Would that be the fact that Maddie can't actually get her own body back and Janet is permanently stuck in there? Could it be that perhaps Maddie and Janet both end up back at the school and neither one is able to return to the world of the living? I am dying to know, and I would love if you would drop in the comments exactly what you're thinking at this juncture of the season so far. We're halfway through, so we've only got a few more episodes until Episode 8. Sounds like the rest of the season is gonna be a wild ride. In fact, Spencer McPherson, who plays Xavier, said there are also so many moments throughout the season with these massive revelations. It feels like every other episode is jaw-dropping. I know my jaw's been on the floor, especially coming off of Episode 4. And to refresh your memory, it does seem like Mr. Martin is possessing somebody else's body. Don't miss my theory video on that, where I went into the likely suspects and who I think that he's possessing. But when he mentions revelations, again, the end of Season 1 was just like the biggest revelations you could ever get. What more revelations could be even bigger? I imagine it must play into these experiments that Mr. Martin and Janet are doing to give us a bigger picture of what exactly goes on in the afterlife and the potential for interacting with the world of the living. All right, and then we have one more. We have Kiara Pichardo, who plays Nicole, saying, "I feel like fans are going to be like, wait, what?" It's going to be something like that. There are so many things happening. I know my reaction at the end of Season 1 was very much, wait, what? Again, I did not see those twists coming, although in retrospect, it does make a little bit of sense because they were mentioning this ghost Janet throughout Season 1 without us really seeing her or having a lot of context. And we have got more of that so far, and I imagine we will be getting more in this episode, in fact, because let's get into the promo pictures. All right, there are two promo pictures that show both Janet and Mr. Martin, and it looks like we will be getting flashbacks into his actual classroom. We've got Janet, of course, played by Jessica Bohr, who we haven't seen a lot of, and by the way, love her from Shameless. And then we've got this picture of Mr. Martin. He's got the elements pictured behind him. I cannot wait to get these flashbacks. I think we really all want more answers about the fire, the nature of their relationship. If there's potential, maybe her dad could have somehow been involved in their deaths. And also, who's at fault? We've got some unreliable narratorship going on with Mr. Martin, so I don't know that any of us believe that it was not his fault for starting the fire. And according to the newspaper article, it was his fault. So who's the big bad? This is a debate we've really been having all season long. In season 1, we all thought Mr. Martin was a good guy. He is their spiritual counselor trying to help them move on. Well, it seems like that is not necessarily the fact. But I cannot wait to see more in the past from the 1958 timeline so we can really dig deeper into the backstory of Mr. Martin and Janet. All right, looking at other promo pictures from this episode, we do have Maddie walking into what looks like it could be either the science lab, given the science-y type of bottles and materials behind her, but also, do you see that camera? Could this be a photo development lab? In another picture that we saw from the trailer, and by the way, these two are actually from the trailer, not promo pictures for episode 5, we also see Maddie walking into a red room with all of these roses. Could the roses or flowers indicate some sort of romantic relationship between Mr. Martin and Janet? And if this is a photo development lab, will we get to see whatever these photos appear to be hanging on clotheslines developing behind Maddie? What do we make of this red room? And speaking of other red room scenes, this is one we saw in the trailer as well, with Wally and Maddie getting it on. So I am curious, something I mentioned in my video this week was, I was wondering if scars can overlap. When one person steps into their scar or hellscape or whatever we want to call it, are they connected and they can see each other? It seems like that's possible because Rhonda saw Mr. Martin in hers. It would be interesting if we had like Wally and Maddie in theirs together. But at the same time, in the last episode, when Wally entered his scar on the football field, Maddie just saw him disappear. She was not there. So that would lead me to believe they would both be having to use their keys, perhaps in their death spots at the same time, to get that simultaneous experience. But then again, Mr. Martin was already in Rhonda's hellscape, and they definitely did not coordinate that. So not sure what to make of it, but again, if you have any thoughts, please do drop them down below. I am dying to know. All right, one more photo from the trailer that relates to Janet and Maddie and could be tied into these potential flashbacks that we're seeing from Mr. Martin and Janet. It appears that Janet's arm is stabbing this knife into a newspaper. I can't tell if that is some sort of dirt or ash. And what that is in the background, is it a bottle or canister? Something that's also sat with me was that comment that Janet made about cyanide in the car with her and Mr. Martin. Could this be a situation where she's trying to poison somebody, maybe her dad, maybe Mr. Martin? I'm just really not sure, but this scene with her stabbing the knife into the table is giving a little bit of anger. And again, not sure if we will get this in episode 5 or not, but we will see it at some point in this season. I cannot wait to see exactly what it means. Let's look at some of the Ghost promo pics from episode 5, Ghost Who's Coming to Dinner. We've got Quinn back in the picture. We've got Yuri, Charlie, and Wally. They appear to be in the library, and they're using a phone. Also notice that banner in the background that says Escape to a Better Place. I think that's a funny nod to them crossing over, or not at some point. But why are they using a phone? They seemingly cannot interact with items in the real world and have it actually make a difference. Things typically reset. Is Simon maybe able to all of a sudden see the ghosts, or potentially Xavier? Something I've been saying is after Xavier had his out-of-body afterlife-ish experience when he was in the hospital, I've been surmising that he will be able to see ghosts at some point. He's more susceptible. He's done it once. So I do think that means that he's partially a believer. So who are all the ghosts looking at? Are they looking at Rhonda? Are they looking at Maddie? Could they be looking at Mr. Martin? Or could there be potential that finally Simon is able to see the other ghosts and they're coordinating some sort of phone call? I find them holding a phone to be very strange in a world where ghosts can't call people. What do we make of this? And speaking of ghost promo pictures, we've got some Churi content, you guys. Charlie and Yuri. I have been yearning for our friend Charlie to make more positive connections after he was kind of able to resolve some of his guilt over the Emilio situation when Simon was able to deliver him that letter. I love to see something brewing between Yuri and Charlie, and I love that Charlie was able to actually draw Yuri out of the art room and into other parts of the high school. What will happen with the two of them? Are they going to be ghost soulmates? I sure hope so. Another interesting photo is Rhonda handing Quinn something in the band room. There are actually a couple of these photos. First, Rhonda's looking in with her arms crossed, kind of like, hey, what are you doing? She does not look pleased. Then we see them both looking at something, and then Rhonda handing Quinn something. I can't make out what it is. It looks like a small black item. I would imagine it's not her key. Her key must be something related to the band. But what is it, and why does Quinn look like she doesn't want to accept it? Rhonda looks like she's happy to be giving it to her. All right, what do you guys make of this one? Please let me know. Now let's get into a few more of the photos that we've seen in teasers and trailers that we haven't seen yet. I also would like to shout out an amazing Redditor. Phantom Bex, that's Phantom-Bex in the School Spirits Reddit sub, put together this amazing post with very well done visuals of all of the things that we have seen in the teasers and trailers and promotional stuff that we haven't seen yet. So definitely check that out. I will put a link to it here down in the video. But let's also run through a few of those photos just to refresh us as to what we can be expecting here in the last 4 episodes. It does seem like episode 6, Ghost Point Blank, the description reads something about them going to Simon's cabin. So I expect all these images with the living teens outdoors with what looks like a cabin behind them to be taking place in that episode. And yes, I will get more into that for my preview video for episode 6 next week. Along with that, we have Janet swinging what looks to be some sort of boat oar. Not sure who she's swinging it at, but if we take a look at this other picture with what looks like Maddie's body underwater, what's the deal with that? And is this Maddie or is this Maddie Janet? I have questions. We also look like we're going to get some police involvement going on at some point. This doesn't necessarily look like it's outside the cabin that we will see in episode 6. It does look like more of a park, public place, maybe the school. Is it Sheriff Baxter? Who's calling the police? Could it tie into the ghost having the phone at some point? We also have this image of Simon kind of trekking through the woods. Where is he going? What is he doing? And then also along with that, Xavier getting grabbed. Who could be grabbing him? This does look like adult male hands or male hands in general. Could it be Mr. Anderson? Could it be even Simon? I'm not sure, but I would love to know what you guys think. And one picture that I'm really curious about is this one with Janet kind of hiding, looking very upset. Does she get locked back in somewhere? This looks like an industrial type of room. Is it the boiler room? Where is it? Who put her there? What is she doing there? Does Janet get trapped again and Maddie is able to get her body back? All right, last picture we're gonna look at that we've seen in teasers and trailers that we haven't seen so far. What is going on here? What is Maddie holding? There has been a lot of speculation about the auto shop potentially being a spot for somebody's death. We see some hubcaps in the background. I don't know if these are trees or leaves or sticks or something, and there is a tinge of red, so it's possible this is in a red room. And what is Maddie holding? Is it one of the flowers that we saw in this other red room? For me, red flowers are giving romance. So this is making me lean more into the idea that perhaps Mr. Martin and Janet did have some sort of romantic relationship. I don't want it to go in that direction, and I do think that it hasn't given us a lot of indication that is the fact, and maybe I'm way off base with the flowers. It seems like Janet, she came from a rough home. Her dad was abusive and misogynistic. He was not going to let her go to college, and Mr. Martin was a supportive ally, a role model, a teacher that she respected. So I hope it doesn't go there, and that whatever their relationship is, it is more scientific in nature. But again, this picture might be one of the most interesting of all, along with those red room rose flower ones. And by the way, I keep saying roses. They do look more like carnations, so sorry about that. But what do we make of this auto shop shot? Who do we think died there? What is going on? There are so many questions that we can be asking ourselves regarding the last half of School Spirit Season 2. Like I said, episode 5 of School Spirit Season 2. It's called Ghost Who's Coming to Dinner, and it airs this Thursday, February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. And yes, I will be back with my weekly reaction and review, and then I will also drop another theory video this week. I would love to know, what are some of your leading theories this season? Throw me your most wild and outlandish theories and thoughts in the comments. There is no theory that is not worth exploring because, yes, as we saw in season 1, they threw us some pretty heavy twists and revelations, and based on promo pictures, the teaser, the trailers, and what the cast itself is saying about this season, I think we could potentially be in for an even bigger reveal than we got in season 1. They're leaning very heavily into the supernatural this season. I am here for every single second of it, and I hope that you stick around as well. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I am covering some other dark TV shows, so if you like videos like this where I talk about them, definitely join me for more. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back again soon. Maddie and Melanie, clicking off.